Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We have more gaming and PlayStation news, rumours and leaks to go over. If you enjoyed today's video, please show your support by hitting that like button. A brand new single-player action-adventure game called Woochi the Wayfarer is on the horizon, and it's aiming to bring a slice of Korean history and folklore into the modern gaming world. The project is being developed by LoreVault Studio, with publishing handled by Nexon Games, the same company behind the First Descendant. Now, this isn't just another fantasy game with a generic setting. Woochi the Wayfarer draws direct inspiration from a well-known Korean novel, The Tale of Jeon Woochi. Much like how Black Myth Wukong takes its cues from the famous Chinese story Journey to the West, this new title is rooted in a piece of classic Korean literature. Now, I'm probably going to butcher many of the pronunciations, so I do apologize in advance, but the story is based on a real historical figure, a Taoist scholar from the mid-Joseon dynasty, or Joseon dynasty, I don't know guys. Nixon's CEO, Park Young-hyun, describes the game as something both deeply Korean in its themes and universally relatable in its emotions. He says the goal is to make something that resonates with players worldwide while showcasing Nixon's games development expertise. Essentially, it's a chance to tell a unique story with cultural depth while delivering an exciting gameplay experience. The game is being built using Unreal Engine 5, which means players can expect high-end visuals and immersive environments. The initial teaser trailer is cinematic, so we don't get to see actual gameplay, but it does set the tone in a world rich with atmosphere, mystery and grandeur. Behind the scenes, the development team is going to great lengths to ensure historical authenticity. They're actually traveling across Korea, visiting real cultural and historical sites so they can create the Joseon-era setting in detailed 3D environments. From what's been shared so far, Woochi the Wayfarer will be a story-driven single-player adventure with fast-paced action. The setting will feature magical landscapes, traditional Korean monsters, and an audio backdrop inspired by authentic Korean music. The soundtrack is being composed by Jung Jae-il, a celebrated musician behind the music for Parasite and the Squid Game series. So it's safe to say that the musical score will carry some serious emotional weight. While no release date has yet been given or even a release window, the project already stands out thanks to its unique cultural focus. So if it delivers on its promise, it could give players an experience that combines historical drama, folklore-inspired fantasy, and modern action gameplay. I know we need to see gameplay before we can really judge this game, but it does feel like it's going to be another big AAA game coming from another Asian studio, something these studios from the Far East are knocking out of the park right now. I'm excited for this game, but like I say, just need to see a little bit of gameplay. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this and let's move on. So it looks like the PlayStation 4 is starting to see the writing on the wall when it comes to major online and live service games. According to a report from GamesIndustry.biz, several studios that run large-scale online titles are considering ending PS4 support in the not-too-distant future. Now, this comes shortly after the news that Genshin Impact will be scaling back its support for Sony's last-generation console. When you think about it, the move isn't entirely shocking. I mean, after all, the PlayStation 4 first launched back in 2013, which means it's been around for over a decade. Technology does move fast, and after 12 years, I suppose it's common for developers to start phasing out older hardware so that they can focus on newer systems. And while the article doesn't call out any specific games by name, it does suggest that many other big live service operators are already mapping out when they'll cut PlayStation 4 support. In the last few years, there's been a drop in the number of games launching on PlayStation 4 as developers and publishers focus only on the current generation platforms. Recent games like God of War Ragnarok, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Gran Turismo 7, they were all cross-generation games, giving PlayStation 4 owners a chance to play alongside PlayStation 5 players. However, other games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Dead Space Remake, Spider-Man 2, The Mafia: The Old Country, which only recently released, and the upcoming Battlefield 6 and Ghosts of Yotai, they are only current generation games. They will not be available on PlayStation 4. So for people who have already moved to PlayStation 5, this change might not seem like a big deal. But for the millions still gaming on PlayStation 4, it's another reminder that at some point, support for their favorite online games could simply vanish. And that's the part that feels a little bit unsettling. The idea that if the company decides to move on, your ability to play certain games could just disappear unless unless you upgrade. And I'll be honest, I'm not personally gaming on PlayStation 4. I've got a PlayStation 5 Pro. Those that follow the channel know this. But when the PlayStation 6 eventually comes out, I probably won't even touch the PlayStation 5 as I'll be moving on to the next generation console. But I know a lot of people that will still be gaming on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. And for them, losing access to games they still enjoy just because support is being pulled doesn't seem right. It's part of the reason why I've started recently playing more PC games. Don't get me wrong, I'm still a PlayStation gamer at heart. My best gaming memories are on PlayStation consoles, and that's where I still enjoy 99.9% of all my games. And I always play games on console first. But there is something about PC which is great for gaming, and that's its better game preservation. On PC, you can pretty much play any game from any era. Even older titles from decades ago can still run, maybe with a few tweaks or maybe running through emulators, but they work. With PlayStation, there's a bit more of a complicated approach to backward compatibility. You just can't plug in your old PlayStation 1 and 2 games. Heck, you can't even play the PlayStation 3 game. And older games that are available through PlayStation Plus, that's true, they are available, but you have to pay for it. You've got to pay for a subscription to play your old game. And on top of that, there's the ongoing frustration that console players have to pay for online play in general, whether that's on PlayStation or on other console platforms. I'm not knocking PlayStation. I love the damn platform. I love playing games on PlayStation. I guess I'm just sharing my frustrations at how gamers have to constantly move on from platforms that they enjoy playing on because support ends for a game which is completely out of your control. I know I've gone off topic here, but it's all connected. When support for older consoles gets pulled, players are forced to upgrade, right? They're into an upgrade cycle, and it highlights how fragile these console game preservations can be. PC gaming doesn't have that same problem per se, and that's worth having a think about. So the question is, with PlayStation 4 support for some online games reportedly on the chopping block, is this just the natural end of a console's life cycle, or should there be a better way to keep these games alive for the players who still enjoy them? Anyway, so it's a very, very thought-provoking topic. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments and let's move on. A brief update on Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. So Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is adding an online twist to its single-player stealth action game. Konami has confirmed that its new multiplayer mode, which is called Fox Hunt, will launch sometime this fall and not when the game launches in August. This mode was first teased back in June, and it's designed to give players an online experience built around the same core gameplay that made Metal Gear famous: stealth, camouflage, and survival. If you've played Metal Gear Online in the past, you might remember the sneaking game mode. Fox Hunt takes that idea and reimagines it with the power of the modern hardware. The concept is simple, but it is tense. One player becomes the hunter, sneaking through the map to complete objectives, while the other tries to track them down. The whole thing is about reading your environment, using camouflage, and staying one step ahead. With the latest graphical updates, Konami says the tension and realism of this hide-and-seek style gameplay will be taken to a whole new level. The base game, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, is a full remake of the 2004 classic Metal Gear Solid 3. It's set for release on August the 28th for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Once the single-player experience launches, players can look forward to jumping into Fox Hunt later in the year for a different kind of challenge. Okay, guys, let's move on. It's been an interesting year so far for Remedy Entertainment, the Finnish studio best known for games like Control, Alan Wake, and the classic Max Payne series. In their recent financial update, Remedy gave fans a clearer picture of where their upcoming projects stand, and it looks like the next big release will be Control 2, and then the long-awaited remakes of Max Payne 1, the original game, and Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne. For Control, Remedy says development is on track right now. The team is putting most of its energy into fine-tuning the gameplay, working on designing the environments and shaping the missions that will make up the game's experience. The studio clearly wants the sequel to be more than just a follow-up. They're aiming for it to be a major commercial success. On the Max Payne side of things are also moving forward steadily. The remakes of the first two games are now in full production, which means the bulk of the development work is actively being worked on. Remedy is still working closely with Rockstar Games, the publisher that owns the Max Payne IP, and describes the collaboration as close and productive. According to the report, the project is approaching its next major phase, though they didn't give an exact timeline for when that might be. While these upcoming games are still in the works, Remedy also shared updates on their current titles. The original Control has now sold over 5 million copies, a huge milestone for the studio. They've also recently taken back publishing, distribution and marketing rights for Control from 505 Games. This means any future sales will go directly to Remedy, giving them more control over the game's future. And as for Alan Wake 2, sales are still steady and royalties continue to come in. That's good news, especially considering how strong the critical reception for the game was when it first launched. 2025 has also been notable for Remedy in another way. It's the first year that they've released a self-published title. That game is FBC Firebreak, a multiplayer spin-off set in the Control universe. However, unfortunately, Remedy admits the game's launch did not meet their expectations. And while they were hoping PC would be the main platform for Firebreak, actually most players have come from PlayStation 5 and Xbox. A lot of the game's success so far has come from its inclusion in subscription services like PlayStation Plus Extra and Game Pass. The problem is that the initial excitement hasn't translated into sustained momentum. In reviews, the game has been seen as fun but somewhat forgettable. Still, Remedy isn't giving up on it just yet. A major update is planned for September, and the studio hopes that this will reignite interest in the game and bring players back. The games that I am most looking forward to from Remedy, of course, is Max Payne Remakes. I know people don't want to hear about remakes and remasters, but honestly, the first two Max Payne games are absolute classics, and I cannot wait for those games to come back. Anyway, let's move on. The next entry in the Bioshock series has been in development for a number of years, and I made a video on this a few weeks back. The game hasn't had the smoothest of journeys. In fact, reports from Bloomberg earlier this year revealed that the developer, Cloud Chamber, recently went through a leadership change after the project reportedly failed an internal review from publisher 2K Games. Now, this led to changes in the game's direction, including adjustments to the story. 2K has been clear that they want to raise the quality bar before the game is released. And they go on to say that right now, we have a good game, but we are committed to delivering a great one. That means more time in development, but it doesn't mean the game is in danger of being cancelled. Now, Take-Two Interactive's CEO Strauss Zelnick came out to say that he's certain the game is coming out, without any question. He also acknowledged that it's no easy task to follow in the footsteps of Ken Levine, the original creative mind behind the Bioshock series. Ken's work on the first 3 Bioshock games helped cement the franchise as one of the most critically acclaimed in gaming history. Zelnick explained that the challenge now is to stay true to the Bioshock DNA, while also pushing the series forward in meaningful ways. After the original trilogy, Ken left to form Ghost Story Games, which is now working on Judas, a game that shares the same stylistic similarities to Bioshock, but includes roguelite gameplay elements. Just like Bioshock 4, Judas was announced years ago and still doesn't have a confirmed release date. For now, if you need your Bioshock fix, the Bioshock Collection is available on PlayStation 4 and playable on PlayStation 5 through its backwards compatibility. Now, there were rumors of a remake of the original Bioshock game, but according to Bloomberg, that project has been shelved for the time being. And finally, moving on to the last bit, which for me is great. Rogue Factor has officially brought back the playable demo of Hell Is Us, and this time it's available for both PlayStation 5 and PC. For PlayStation 5 owners, this is the first time and the first chance to try the game ahead of its release, while for PC players, they might recognize it from an earlier version, only now it's been updated with a number of quality of life improvements to make the experience smoother and more polished. The demo puts you in control of Remy, the game's main character, right at the beginning of his journey in the game. It's designed as an introduction, letting players get to grips with the game's core combat systems before the full world opens up. And while you do get a taste of the setting, deeper exploration is held back for the full release of the game. In Hell Is Us, Remy is on a personal mission to uncover what happened to his missing parents. That search quickly leads him to conflict with supernatural creatures known as Hollow Walkers, eerie, otherworldly enemies that are as unsettling as they are dangerous. The game's world is described as semi-open, giving players the freedom to roam while still guiding them through a structured story. And what makes Hell Is Us stand out from many modern-day action-adventure games is what it actually leaves out of the game. And there are no floating waypoints telling you exactly where to go. There's no quest logs, there's nothing to keep track of from that perspective. There's no map markers lighting the way. It's not going to hold your hand. Man up, play the game, and learn from the game. Because in this game, you have to rely on in-game conversations, visual clues, and your own exploration skills to figure out where to head to next. The goal is to make players more engaged with the world and the story, rather than simply following a marker on a screen. You got to pay attention, man. You got to pay attention in the game. The design choice means you paying attention in the game is absolutely essential. When an NPC gives you directions or hints, you'll need to remember them. If they tell you about a landmark or describe a path in the game, that information is crucial and it becomes your guide. It's a throwback to a time when games trusted players to find their own way, and for some, it might be a refreshing change from the hand-holding common in today's gaming landscape. By releasing this improved demo, Rogue Factor is giving players a better feel for the game's tone, combat style, and slower, more deliberate approach to exploration. For newcomers, it's a way to see if the game's pacing and mechanics work for you. For those who tried the earlier PC version, it's a chance to experience a smoother and more refined version of what's next in the game. With Hell is Us aiming to mix atmospheric storytelling, challenging combat, and exploration that actually rewards curiosity, the demo could be a strong first step in winning over players before launch. Guys, let me know if you're going to be trying out this demo. I've been looking forward to Hell is Us for a long time. In fact, ever since the game was first announced. It's one of those games that are on my radar, and I'm excited to be diving into this demo tonight. Okay guys, so let me know your thoughts in the comments about the content discussed in today's video, and I'll catch you on the next video.